Well, the Lord actually has had a major influence on my life ever since I was a little kid. I had grown up in the church, but early in our family's lives, we had moved to a rural area in Wyoming, and we couldn't find a church that was conducive to our family. We could not find a conservative Christian church that fit our family. So we fell out of the habit of going to church. And about a decade later, we had moved to Montana, and we had just fallen out of the habit of going to church. But one Christmas Eve, my brother, my younger brother, came into the living room and just said to my parents, "Now we know, at the prompting of the Holy Spirit, that we should just go to church." So it was Christmas Eve, and we drove into town, and we went to a Lutheran church. And it's unbelievable how the Lord has changed our lives through that very evening. So from that evening on, our family reestablished our connection to the Christian church. And long story short, my brother now serves as a Lutheran pastor. And I originally served as a professor of theology for 16 years at Concordia University in Portland, Oregon. And for the last 4 years, the Lord has brought me to Concordia University in Irvine, California, to serve as the president. And it's clear that the Lord had this planned from my very youth.
Thank you.
Well, I hold advanced degrees in international studies and in religious studies, but my specialties are the history of Christianity, the history of the New Testament, Old Testament, and Greek and Roman history and religion. And I also have had the chance to teach Greek, Latin, and Hebrew languages during nearly 20 years of teaching at universities. But my very favorite subject, of course, is to teach New and Old Testament classes to introductory students, because those students at Concordia, many of them, because we accept Christians and non-Christians, many of them have never ever opened the Bible or heard the gospel. So my very favorite classes are to teach New and Old Testament, because in those classes I get to introduce the gospel to students who have never met Jesus Christ. Yes, I began the presidency of Concordia University Irvine in January of 2020. And just 2 months later, the pandemic, the worldwide COVID-19 pandemic, struck the entire world, as well as the state of California. Of course, the state of California had pretty strong restrictions and forced the university to close in March of 2020. But I called the leadership team together, and we tried so hard to open that campus by that summer, and we did. It was the right thing to do for our faculty, staff, and the students, especially for our students. And so I'm very proud of the team. There were definitely challenges, and there were definitely a lot of creative ways that we had to adopt to open the school, even during those restrictions. But because we opened that school, our students were amazingly blessed, and the Lord continues to bless the faculty, staff, and students, because we didn't live by fear, but we lived by hope. Well, Concordia University in Irvine, California is a conservative Christian school. All our faculty and staff are practicing committed Christians, but we are committed to opening our campus to any student who wants to study who is qualified. So we accept Christians and non-Christian students alike. But each of those students meets Jesus in the curriculum, but they also meet Jesus in each of the staff and faculty members. In terms of our academic curriculum, we have an extensive, intensive academic curriculum based on the great books of the Western society and, of course, the world history. We're very excited to offer a very in-depth curriculum, more than 60 majors and minors at the university. But in addition to that, we offer expansive extracurricular activities music, art, theater, athletics, even debate. And so one of the differences from a university like Concordia University in Irvine, California, versus, say, a university perhaps in Korea, is that we encourage all of our students to take multiple disciplines. We want engineering students to be participating in the orchestra. We want computer science students to be participating in choir. We want our communications majors to be playing soccer. So we encourage and provide scholarships for all those different activities. So of course we provide academic scholarships based on GPA, but we also provide talent scholarships for people interested in orchestra, drama, theater, etc. But the most important thing of Concordia University Irvine is that we're a Christian university. So of course we offer academics, exceptional academics, we offer extracurricular activities, but of course we offer spiritual formation. We form the heart and the soul of every student who comes to study at Concordia.
Great, thank you.
Well, in the 21st century, it seems to me that the greatest challenge to both youth and adults is loneliness. In fact, I would call it the greatest sin or sickness of our age. Loneliness rooted in, I think it's fair to say, rooted in selfishness. Social media has just exacerbated this problem. People are super lonely in this world. And if loneliness is the result of people focusing only on themselves and not on their neighbor and not on God, then the only antidote to that loneliness, the only true antidote to that loneliness, the only true antidote to sin is Jesus Christ. And while theologically we can answer that Jesus is the antidote to sin in many ways, the most important way I would say for the 21st century is the focus on Jesus becoming a human being to restore our relationship with each other and also with God. And he showed us in his interactions with human beings, the blind man, the deaf man, the Samaritan woman, that he came to restore relationships, not just with God, but with each other. And I think he's called us to live not for ourselves, but to live for God and to live for our neighbor. And if we would just take that invitation and follow his example, he called the church into being. The church is not a building. The church is relationship with one another. And I think loneliness in this world could be solved at a deep, deep level if we just followed the example of Jesus Christ and the fact that he's restored us to relationship with each other. And so my encouragement, my exhortation in today's world for people who are so lonely is to lean on Jesus Christ and his example and upon his followers. We in the church are here, we're willing, we're reaching out. And so for people who are lonely and steeped in the sickness of selfishness, we are so excited to welcome you and to introduce you to Jesus Christ.